I'm Halcyon, and this is Hug Nation. Today, the theme is the law of attraction doesn't matter, but you should follow it anyway. People, when The Secret came out, there was this whole hubbub and this whole excitement about how the power of your positive thoughts could change the world, could change your life. If you thought about a Ferrari enough, you'd get a Ferrari. And there is a truth to this? Question mark? I'll let that be up to you. But the reason why I want to talk about why it doesn't matter. Someone was talking to me recently about how they, as they're heading towards the mall, for example, they imagine that they're going to get a parking place. If they start to hear themselves say, oh, there's going to be nowhere to park, we're going to have to walk forever, they go, there will be a parking place for me. Law of attraction, power of intention. And their argument to me was that inevitably there will be a parking place. And my argument was, it doesn't matter. Because during your journey to the mall, every time you think about that non-existent parking place, every time you think about the stress and the frustration that is going to happen when you get there, your brain struggles with understanding what is happening in the moment, in a thought about the now, and what is happening in a future moment when your thought is about that future moment. Does that make sense? If you're imagining being yelled at, you feel discomfort, you feel stress, you feel suffering. When you're being yelled at, you feel stress, you feel suffering. However, you have very little control over the yelling happening to you. You have tons of control over your thought about a future incident of possible yelling. And that's why it doesn't matter if you believe in your thoughts about the parking place arriving for you. If you don't believe that you can manifest someone's thought process to go, zing, I was going to shop for a few more minutes, but I'm being compelled to leave the mall now and make room in the parking spot for this person. Perhaps. Who am I to say things such as this? I do not control the vibrations beyond. Or at least I would not admit that in public. Not in this presidency. But it doesn't matter, because as you're on the way to the mall, if you either believe that you will have a good parking place or remove the thought of stress of a possible scenario that you don't like, either one, you are now free from this non-mandatory suffering that accompanies a worry thought. Now, we have this human brain that is so beautiful in its capabilities of imagination, of picturing a future, of planning, and that gives us this huge evolutionary advantage with a disadvantage, which is that imagination without discipline creates stress and worry. Doesn't matter. There is this line in Shakespeare's Julius Caesar that I think about all the time. He says, a coward dies 1,000 deaths, and a hero dies just once. Meaning that as a warrior, if you enter the battle brave, enter the battle with the belief that you will be victorious, then when that day comes, when you lose, you die. You experience death. If you do not have that bravery, you do not have that courage, if you don't have the discipline of your thoughts, and so you enter a battle with fear of death, if you anticipate the death with every battle that approaches, then every time you have the thought, you experience a little death. And not a little death in the French orgasm way, a little death in a little bit of suffering. So as you let your thoughts run rampant and let you experience the suffering of a non-existent future event, the existence of the event is debatable, possible, uncertain. The experience of suffering is for certain if you allow that thought to manifest, if you allow yourself to experience the imagination of that death, that parking place frustration, that anything, that yelling in the office. And so if you believe in the power of a law of attraction, if you believe that you can actually, with your thoughts, change your reality, if you can attract things with vibration, that's an entirely different conversation, one which I find fascinating, and I have all sorts of kind of scary examples of it coming true in my life, and I've heard other people speak of. But that's not what this is about. I'm saying it doesn't matter. I'm saying disciplining your thoughts so that when you have the stress thought, you recognize the danger of it, you recognize the lack of value to it, and the only thing it can give you is a little death. The only thing it can give you is a piece of suffering that doesn't even contribute towards reducing the suffering in your future. I'm saying this because I need to hear it. In recent months, I have felt myself slip into worry thoughts. I've felt myself try to adjust plans or eliminate plans or cancel plans or stress about plans and feel tiny death, feel suffering about things that have not yet happened. I'm getting ready to go to this eclipse event. People saying it's going to be a once-in-a-lifetime event. It's going to be so amazing, so amazing. And every time I read an article about it, I think about the crowds, and I think about the traffic, and I think about waiting in line. I think about being hot, and I think about tiny death, tiny death, tiny death, tiny death, suffering, 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 suffering. Meanwhile, I'm bringing this heat experience to my now, which is perfect. I'm bringing the traffic to my experience, which is not congested. I'm bringing all of this suffering for no reason. Now, maybe by visualizing no traffic and perfect weather, I will change the direction of my life. That's uncertain with the conversation we're having today. But what is certain is that I will change my life in the degree of suffering I experience in the now moment due to my overactive imagination. Over and over again, examples of this happen in my life. And I would guess examples happen in your life too. Burning Man is approaching, and it is almost a tradition to have something to stress about. Some tiny death in the future that gets spread around and people start panicking about, whether it's some bug apocalypse or this year there's been stress for months about the water. And I just saw an article today that said this disaster, this potential battle death that we've been stressing about has actually created an environment on Playa that is maybe the best it's been in years. The water evaporated rather than soak the soil. Drilling confirmed it's strong enough for heavy vehicles, structures, and tent posts. The surface is flat and level. The water actually works to help the surface of the playa, says Pierre Beignet. The tensile strength is about as strong as we've ever seen. Tensile strength! That's science. You can't argue with science. So, this is not the easiest discipline to have over your thoughts. It is a natural human condition, a human tendency to utilize this magical ability we have to create visuals of the future, to live in a time that is not now, whether it is the past or whether it is the future. We can summon magically an experience into the now moment that is not actually happening. But we need to remember the consequences. We need to remember the price that we can pay if we do so without discipline. And then just practice. Practice noticing. I say this not as an authority, as a practitioner who has been ditching class and needs to go to summer school. Everything is perfect. Everything will work out. It's an honor to be here with you. I love you.